So we are back to the Spirit's book. Last week, Elmo conducted the studies on reincarnation. You covered the whole topic. And then you started incarnation on different worlds. You did a couple of questions. Elmo explained the idea of incarnation on different worlds. He compared to the idea of us getting our education from primary school to secondary school to high school to college to post-graduation to masters. We may do many of those in one place, but we may have to move around, and that's how in a analogy we can compare with incarnations in different worlds according to our necessities. We're probably going to still be doing today this item the whole day because there is a lot of questions about it. So last week you did 172 and 173. I'm going to ask Philip to read from 172 to the end of 174, which is the first one that you haven't discussed last week, okay?
Very good. 172. Are all our different corporal existences lived on Earth? No, not all of them. There are many different worlds on which we may live our lives. This world is neither the first nor the last, but it is definitely one of the most material and furthest removed from perfection. 173. Does the soul pass from one world to another for each new life, or can multiple lives be in the same world? A soul may live in the same world many times if it is not ready to move on to a higher one. So we can live on Earth several times. Absolutely. Can we come back after living on other worlds? Of course. You may have already lived elsewhere and on Earth. 174. Must we live on Earth again? No, but if you do not advance, you could end up on a world that is not only is not better than this one, it could be worse.
Okay, so a couple of things here. You addressed last week the first couple of questions. We know that we lived in other worlds before coming into Earth. The Spirit tells us that our first incarnation as individual spirit was not on Earth. All individuals incarnated and discarnated that live around Earth, the vast majority came from other worlds. So we are all aliens. So we are so curious about finding aliens coming to the contact with us, especially recently in this with NASA. And last month, the United States published an answer to the ovnis, to UFOs, and it didn't say anything concrete about it. It's the maybe, yes or no or maybe. But we are all aliens. We all came from a different world. But it's important, and Elmo mentioned this last week, that I'm sorry, I have rain coming into my house. I have to close a window here. Stay with me one sec. I'll continue talking. So Elmo spoke about the necessity of us being close to our loved ones, right? And of course, if we are reincarnating somewhere else, we are not reincarnating next to the ones that care for us or that we need to readjust, because we have to correct our mistakes where we make. So that's why we are here. We are surrounded by our loved ones. We are reincarnating close to our loved ones, and we will continue living here until we have a good reason to change. And that's where we come to the question that we are the new one. Must we live on Earth again? And the Spirit says no, but if you do not advance, you could end up on a world that not only is not better than this one, it could be worse. What do they mean that? The planet evolves, and we know that. The planet Earth is moving from a world of trials and atonements, or trials and expiations, to a world of regeneration. The spirits that cannot adapt to the planet, that cannot change their vibrational level, their intentions, that spirits that still insist on causing harm to their fellow beings, just for the sake of doing it, only think about their personal advantages, are going to be removed and transferred to a less evolved world, where they will be intellectually more evolved than those incarnated there, and they will learn to the struggles to evolve morally, like those that came from Capella that we discussed on the book On the Way to the Light, that incarnated on Earth 10,000 years ago. In 4 different places we studied that. So according to the last book from Divaldo, on the path to the world of regeneration, this is already happening. The spirits are removing whole colonies in the lower zones with spirits that no longer can reincarnate on Earth, and transferring them to less evolved worlds, to primitive worlds. Now, it's important to understand here, the spirit is not regressing, because a spirit never regresses. It's always moving forward. We are always evolving intellectually and morally, even if it's very little. But where we are, we can go to a less evolved, more primitive planet than we are. That doesn't mean that we had regressed either morally or intellectually. Now, the other way around, if we evolve faster than the planet we are incarnated, we can move to a more advanced planet. And one example that we have of that we know of that, is the spirit of Bezerra de Menezes, who is one of the earlier spiritists in Brazil, a doctor that was a president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. And it's a spirit that works with many spiritist centers and still gives messages. Divaldo always receives messages from him when he receives communications by the end of his lectures. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes was given the opportunity of going to a more evolved world when he discarnated, but he decided to continue here because he said that he still had many loved ones here that he wanted to help and assist, including the many children that he had in his last incarnation. I think he had like 8 children, and 6 of them died before him, something like that. So the idea here is that we reincarnate on Earth. We continue to reincarnate on Earth, but we can go somewhere else according to our needs. Okay? Questions, comments here? You are on mute, Luis.
May I, Johnny? Just 2
Yes.
comments. I couldn't let it pass. One, I love 172. I use it often in classes because it perfectly states our place in the line. I mean, it's one of the furthest removed from perfection. I think it's very good that we understand our position here. And the other thing I must share with you, uh, uh, more than a few years ago, I remember exactly the moment when I was in a class being given by the head of our group, and at a certain moment, the penny dropped and it hit me, and I asked, "Come on, are you telling me that I'm probably an alien spirit that was taken from a more advanced planet because I couldn't cut the mustard?" And he said, "Yes."
Yeah. According to what we hear from the spirits, many of us are the exiles from Capella that are still here. I'm not going to go into details, but many of us started here 10,000 years ago and are still here. Those actually, Emmanuel says that those that incarnated in Egypt, they are all back. They all left. But those that went to the other places, China, the China region, where today is Iraq, and the Europeans, most are still here.
My point being that we should be very humble and study a lot, try to learn a little, because we have a long way to go.
Yes. Yeah. So you want me to mention the phrase from yesterday, Luis?
Yes, please do so.
Almost always, a spiritist that is not working is a soul on the way to the dark labyrinths of the lower zones. That's from a book from Francisco Cândido Xavier, from the spirit Kaibar Schutel, when he was talking about the necessity of spiritists to work.
Yeah, but you could do a better work on translation. Come on, more fluid.
I was reading in Portuguese and translating in my mind here. It was not easy. I should have thought it before.
That's again a subtle hint to us that we better work and work hard and study, because if not, we're halfway to the lower zones, even though we are spiritists. So
yeah.
Can you give us detail about what they mean by working?
Without charity, there is no salvation, right? So if you are working to progress, working on your improvement, moral and intellectual improvement, you are doing the right job, right? It's not only not to not do evil, is to actively do good in any form that you can, right? Helping and assisting others in any form that you can and you are able to. There are many ways of being charitable, and I think that's what they mean there. Don't be passive, on your life. Be active in any form that can. Sorry.
No, if I might, in my view, share it. Not in my view. I have references to that. Share it in the spiritist concept does not strictly philanthropy. It's not giving alms. Charity is helping others and helping yourself, learning, teaching, providing a kind word, guidance. It's treating the other as you would like to be treated yourself by others. I don't know if that's a good translation in English, but anyway, I tried.
Yes, it is.
Okay, anyone else?
And just to give us a little bit of tap on the back, according to Joanna de Angelis, with all our ignorance, if we make a a comparison, we are closer to God than to the animals. So even with all of our ignorance, we have already moved some steps that if we have crossed that midline, being closer to God than to the animalia.
Yes. Yeah. You mentioned this last week also, right, Elmo?
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's an important concept that you know, we already went more than halfway from the when we started as an individual spirit to the perfection, right? So that's what she meant.
Yep.
All right.
175?
And
Yeah.
John,
Yes. Sorry.
Right.
yeah, you have mentioned that Jimenez, that he didn't want to go and he wanted to stay here. So do we have a choice? Or is it because he was really,
Yeah, he
you know,
had a choice.
Oh.
We may not have a choice
no, we won't.
in terms of we may need to reincarnate on Earth because of our atonements, right?
Right.
We need to, for us to be able to move to a more evolved world, we need to evolve faster than the planet, and we need to, you know, when we have very little to learn from continuing here, we have better opportunities of learning somewhere else, is when we are given an opportunity to go somewhere else. And again, going to almost school comparison, right? You have those students that are brilliant, and the school has nothing, the school that they are in has nothing else to offer them in terms of what is offering their peers. So they need to go to, I don't know how they call this, advanced schools. I know it's not special schools because that's for the wrong definition, but advanced schools that I don't know the exact term. So, you know, it's the same thing. If Earth has not much to offer you because you already evolved morally and even intellectually more than the planet can offer you, you be given an opportunity to go somewhere else.
Yes.
But what happens is that normally we have our loved ones and we don't want to leave them behind, right?
Yeah.
So, but also what we can do, you know, you go to one incarnation on a more evolved place, and then you come back. You come back to help those that you left behind here, because once you are more evolved spirit, you can go between worlds easier than at our stage that we are kind of stuck to Earth in a sense.
I see. Okay. Thank you, John. Understand. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
175. Is there any sort of advantage in coming back to Earth? There is no special advantage unless it is to fulfill a mission. In that case, the spirit advances wherever it may be. Subsection A, wouldn't we be happier to remain a spirit? No, no, because we would remain stationary and we want to get closer to God.
Okay. There is something very important here, right? It's on this second question. But the first one, when Kardec asked the spirit, so is there any sort of an advantage? And the spirit says, there's no, it's not an advantage, it's a need, unless it's to fulfill a mission. Because when we come to fulfill a mission, we are gaining something for us. A spirit that comes on Earth, incarnates on Earth, and is fulfilling a mission, a spirit advances wherever it may be, wherever it is. So, you know, you can come on a mission amongst, primitive people, and you are not but you are going to advance because you'll be able to help them. And then the second question is a key question, right? Isn't it better to remain a spirit? And our progress is through learning and putting in practice the lessons we have learned. When we are in the spiritual world, we are learning at our stage. But to put in practice, we have to reincarnate. So when the spirit says we would remain stationary, means that we'll be learning, but we wouldn't be putting in practice the experiences to see if it becomes part of us. So the learning has to become part of who we are, and then we move forward. So we want to get closer to God, meaning we want to be a perfected spirit, and in order to do that, we must evolve. And to evolve, we have to go through the reincarnation, because that's the divine law, that's the natural law.
Question. I have a question,
Yes,
may I?
Paco. Sure, go ahead, Paco.
Yeah, does it mean that when we are in the spirit world, there's no progress?
It's not that there is no progress, because whenever you are learning, you are progressing, right?
Yes.
But to put in practice, because when you are in the spiritual world, you are surrounded by spirits at your same level of evolvement, right? You find yourself in a place like No Solar. The spirits that are No Solar, they are in the same range of evolvement. Of course, you have the guides there that are more evolved.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's what I'm referring to.
But
exactly
you
right.
you don't have their struggling spirits in the sense of difficult struggles. When you come to an incarnation, the challenges of the physical body, the necessities of the physical body, and the contact with spirits that may be very different from you will make you put in practice everything that you have learned, but you haven't had a chance to put in practice in the spiritual world. Okay, it's a subtle concept. Why can't we put in practice in the spiritual world what we're learning? Well, you think of André Luiz working to help and assist all those here on earth, so he's already putting in practice what he's learning. But is he facing challenges like we face on our daily lives incarnated? He's not. And that's what misses in the spiritual world, right? The needs of our physical body combined with the relationships with spirits of different levels of evolution that will challenge us to be better ourselves. That's what happens when we are incarnated. Okay, make sense, Paco?
Yeah, okay. That's this is the Earth is the school where you implement your learnings.
Yeah, it's going back to the school comparison, right? You go to college, you are learning to be a doctor, right? But until you go there in the operating room or in the clinic and start treating patients, you are just a doctor in theory. You're not
Exactly.
in practical.
It's like like going to nursing school. You get a degree in nursing, and you have to have to pass a license, and then you have to go into the field, into the field of work, and that's what makes you a nurse, or a teacher, or an engineer, or whatever profession.
Yes, so it's that's the analogy with the spiritual world. You are there learning and studying, but you are not really exercising your, let's say, profession, right? So that's why you incarnate. So you have the opportunity of being challenged.
Okay.
So Emmanuel says that we learn anywhere and everywhere, but in our level right now, we progress with matter. We need the matter to allow us to progress. The comparison that I like to make is the drug addict or the alcoholic who goes into a rehab, let's say for 6 months. And he gets over there, let's say he's an opiate addict, go through the detoxification, go to all the meditation learnings, everything that is done in a rehab. By the 5th month, he or she feels completely free of the vice, feel completely strong. They can get out there and not use the same chemicals anymore. Can you say that that person is indeed free of the vice?
If he's free of the vice once it's out there, clean.
In a very
Well, of course, he's free.
in a very protected environment where has no access to those chemicals, where there is not the triggers that lead that individual to seek those drugs. You can say that he will be free of the vice when he's out there in the world, living normal life, unprotected from, let's say, when in rehab, being exposed to the same triggers that lead him or her to the vice to the first place. And once he passes that for a period of time without going back to consume those same chemicals, you say, yeah, this person is free of the vice. So the same thing for us. And we go to the spiritual world, we receive all the teachings that we need, receive all the spiritual treatment, everything's over there for us, and protect the environment. If you sick, naturally, there are those who seek the other way around as well. But in order to say, yes, I am free of this or that vice, I'm going to reincarnate and apply here, being exposed to all the triggers, being exposed to those who will influence me in the wrong direction, everything else. So I can say, yes, now I'm free of the vice.
People, places, and things
Now
like this.
here we're talking about a more chemical thing, but let's talk about the vices of
Jealousy, envy.
impatience, envy, greedy, and all that stuff, right? I mean, we have to come back here many, many times.
Exactly. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Continue.
Yes, please.
176. Can spirits come to this world for the first time after they incarnate in other worlds? Yes, just as you may go to others. All the worlds are in solidarity. What is not accomplished in one is completed in another. So there are people who are on earth for the first time, many, and at various degrees. Is there any sign marking spirits who are here for the first time? This would not be of any use to you.
Okay, let's start by the last one, right? So you are not going to see the aliens with a mark, special mark on their forehead, with an A in their forehead saying they're aliens. This would not be of any use to you. So it's interesting because this concept of spirits from other worlds incarnated here on Earth for the first time, that the spirits say that it happens and at various degrees, meaning from less evolved to more evolved, those guiding us and those that are learning from us, give us an understanding that we tend to think of all those incarnated on Earth, we in general, as the population of Earth, and we talk about aliens arriving in spaceships and things like that, when in reality, it's through new incarnations that aliens will come to Earth for the first time, and we have those around us. And again, there is no upside for us to know who is what. Normally, you can say that those that are incarnating on Earth for the first time will have difficulties in adapting themselves to the planet because everything is foreign to them. But that doesn't mean that we are going to recognize them because of their difficulties. Their difficulties may be just challenges from previous incarnations here on Earth. So, it's not really something that we should be curious about who is who. The concept here is what's important. There are those that are incarnating here for the very first time. There are those that are going to different worlds because of different reasons. And, all worlds are in solidarity. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all children of God. So where we incarnate, where we are coming from, where we are going, it's not that relevant. What's relevant is the effort that we are making to progress, each one of us, the internal effort to progress, the internal effort that we are making. Okay? Questions here, comments?
Yeah, but okay, I mean, you don't really, let me just make a comment. You don't really have to know exactly, but more or less you could tell that the person is not, if you find someone who's extremely selfish, who's only just into material possessions, you can right away you can tell that that person, that spirit is not really that elevated.
Yes.
You probably just, you don't have to be you don't have to study spiritism or be a theologian to realize that that selfishness or viciousness or even evil behaviors are someone that is not to evolve of. You understand what I'm saying? It's not.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean, that doesn't tell us if they are from here for the first time or not, right? That just tells us what's their level of evolution, but not if they are coming here for the first time or not, which is what I think the spirits are discussing here.
Okay, but I guess. Well, I guess that's what it says. There's no what would be the use for you? Yeah, I guess it's not really relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
177. To arrive at perfection and supreme happiness, the ultimate goal of humankind, does a spirit need to pass through all the worlds that exist in the universe? No. There are many worlds of the same degree where a spirit would learn nothing new. Then how can we explain multiple lives in the same world? A person may find him or herself in very different situations each time, which provide the opportunity for growth and experience.
Okay, so the first question, of course, at the time that Kardec asked, the number of worlds that they thought of the universe were much smaller than nowadays that we know there are trillions of worlds. So, of course, we don't need to go through all the worlds. Like, to learn, you don't need to go to every school in your city, right? You can go to one school and learn in one school if the school is good enough. Because, many worlds of the same degree where we learn nothing new. And now the second question is, it's more complex because Kardec then asked, but so why do we have to incarnate multiple times in the same world if we need to learn different things? And if you just think about the world we have, Earth 300 years ago and Earth today, people that lived here 300 years ago, our incarnations 300 years ago, we had different experiences. A lot of the learning that we can have today we couldn't 300 years ago. Of course, the moral aspect is something that it's much more subtle, and it's the opportunity of a morally evolving is to be surrounded by those different from you, and learn to deal with the situations. But in terms of intellectual evolvement, you know, as the world is progressing, you are progressing also, learning intellectually. So you don't need to go to different worlds. And if you think that according to the spirits, in general, there are 5 categories of worlds, you know, there are billions of worlds that belong to the same category, and you don't need to go through them. You just need to go through one to learn and to evolve. In theory, you know, in practical terms, we move around as needed, when needed, but mostly we stay here. You think of an Emmanuel that described his previous incarnations from the time of Jesus, even before Jesus, right, when he was his grandfather, as Publius Lentulus in the book 2000 years ago, starts talking about his grandfather, and then himself reincarnating with the same name, and he meets Jesus, and then his incarnations 50 years later, and more and more. So at least for 2000 years, more than 2000 years, Emmanuel has been incarnating on Earth, and we can see his evolution, right? So it is possible, and it is likely that we will have an opportunity to evolve here, reincarnating many times here in this planet. Okay.
If you make a comparison with our education also, one single university offers you many different courses. You can graduate in social sciences, come back and do engineering, graduate, come back and do biology sciences. I mean, the same university offers the opportunity to diversify your knowledge in many different ways.
Yeah, and picking up on our example, which is very good, right? But it may come a time that you may want to go to a different university because the university you are in cannot offer exactly what you're looking for, and that's the different world, right?
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that means that there are dimensions or worlds that are parallel to this one.
Yes.
Worth.
Many,
Yes.
many.
Many parallel to this one. Okay.
Yeah. Now, we're not going to go into the discussion of what forms are incarnated there, and then we're talking a little bit later about this. I don't know if we're to this today or next week, but because we cannot expect, the problem with us trying to find aliens is that we try to find human beings elsewhere, and we are not going to find human beings elsewhere. Each world has its own characteristics that the spirits have to adapt to it.
Each world has its unique and proper configuration. That's what you're saying. The configuration
exactly.
here on planet Earth is the human body or human beings. In some other dimension, it's going to be another configuration, or we don't know. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Okay. Right. Next, Philip.
178. Can spirits live in a world that is inferior to the one in which they have already lived? Yes, when fulfilling a mission to advance progress. In this case, they gladly accept the trials of such an existence, because these provide them with a means to advance. Subsection A. Can this also occur as a means of atonement? Can God send defiant spirits to lower worlds? Spirits may remain stationary, but they never regress. Their atonement is not advancing, and by having to restart their squandered lives under the conditions best suited to their nature. Who is forced to restart the same existence? Anyone who fails to fulfill a mission or endure a trial.
Okay, so we discussed some of this, right, already. So the first question, when we talk about the world that is inferior to which one we already lived, we mentioned that spirits are being taken to primitive worlds, but we also have spirits that will come to incarnate on Earth from a more evolved planet to fulfill a mission or to help their loved ones to progress. One example that we have is in the book Renunciation by Emmanuel and Francisco Xavier, the spirit of Alcyone that is incarnated, that last incarnation was in a more evolved world. And she asks for the opportunity to reincarnate on Earth because she wanted to rescue her loved one. And her spiritual guide strongly advised her against it, saying that she's going to have a very difficult existence here on Earth, struggle a lot, but she insists, and she ends up, of course, having the opportunity. And for those that haven't read the book, I highly recommend that you read the book Renunciation, Renúncia in Portuguese, that talks about Alcyone and one of the incarnations of Emmanuel as a priest. And you see a spirit that is more advanced, that can incarnate in a more evolved planet, coming here on a personal mission. It's not even a mission to help humanity, because you have spirits that incarnate on a mission to help humanity, but she's coming on a personal mission to help and rescue a loved one that she needs to help progress, to rescue. And so it is possible also the other way around. We talk a lot about spirits that can no longer incarnate here on Earth, being taken to less evolved worlds, to primitive worlds, but more evolved spirits can incarnate here on a mission. Now, then Kardec asks the spirits if this can also occur as a mean of atonement. If God can send defiant spirits to lower worlds, which we kind of discussed, and the spirit says that the spirits may remain stationary. And it's important to understand here, the key here, they never regress. The stationary here, meaning there is almost no progress. But as I always say, by not doing anything, you are learning that by not doing anything, you are not progressing. So it is a learning, even if you are not doing anything. So it is a very small progress. It's a progress by millimeters, but it is a progress. So, but what happens is what the Spirit says here, that if we fail our opportunities, if we squander our opportunities, we are going to have to face more difficult challenges, because that's how we are going to, if we had an opportunity that was more or less through an easy path, and we decided not to take the easy path and lose the opportunity, next time we are going to have a more difficult path, because it will force us to act on that opportunity. So because when we have the ability of not doing anything without causing any major harm to our physical lives, we may get away with it, but we are not going to get away with it again. We are going to come in an incarnation that we are going to struggle, and we are going to have to find ways to progress. And which is covered a little bit the second part, who is forced to restart the same existence. When you will fail to fulfill a mission, or when you are enduring a trial. Okay. All right. Next, Philip.
All those great teachers that we know in history, all those spiritual master teachers that we learn in history are actually spirits that came to fulfill a mission.
Yes. Yes.
To help us advance.
Yes, many of those. Yeah, we're not going to say all of them because we don't like to say all or none, but yes, the vast majority of them. You know, you can come as a regular Joe and transform your life on a mission. You know, you can do more than you were supposed to do. That's possible also. Very unlikely, but possible. Meaning, those that come on a mission generally have on their reincarnation blueprint the opportunity of fulfilling a mission. They will have. It doesn't mean that they are going to fulfill it, because you know, you come, you incarnate, and you may change the idea, but you have there on your blueprints. But doesn't prevent you from starting a mission by yourself without being planned, you know, by your own individual effort and progress. But that's very unlikely.
Well, but to have a blueprint doesn't mean that, you know, you can, well, it's not, I look at it in terms of a blueprint, not so much of a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
Julio never would like the word plan, right?
No, plan is like, I think of a lesson plan in school, you know, that you follow it. A blueprint is more likely, I guess, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
180. Do spirits retain the intelligence that they possessed in one world when moving to another? Of course. Intelligence is never lost. They may not have the same means of manifesting it, which depends both on their superiority and on the quality of the body they will assume. See influence of the body.
Yeah. So
Wow, that's
again,
on this one is difficult.
yes, it's a great question, because we have to think about our two wings of evolution, the moral and the intellectual. As Elmo always say, right, the intellectual side is just adding. You're not subtracting anything. That's why it's easier than the moral one, which is to subtract our imperfections. So by adding to our intellectual progress, we have it. We are never going to lose it. We, the eternal spirit, that's different from the incarnated spirit, okay? And we can use this here on earth. You have the intellectual abilities as a spirit, but you come to a physical body that you don't have the means of manifesting your intellectual abilities for some reason. A mentally challenged individual, it's not a mentally challenged spirit. It's just a physical body preventing it from manifesting the intelligence. There are several reasons for that, and we're not going to go to discuss the reasons, but you know, it may be a trial, it may be an expiation, it may be a mission, but their intelligence is never lost. We always give the example of Mozart, right? That is a music genius. So he is a music genius, and he will continue. The spirit Mozart is a music genius. The next incarnation of Mozart as John Smith, he probably didn't bring the music abilities. Otherwise, he would focus only on music again and not develop the other necessities of his evolutionary path. Because if something comes easy to you, you are going to go in that direction. You love music, you are a genius. Why would you do something different? So that's why he has to come with that part of his intellectual ability, not able to manifest it, right? It doesn't mean that he's not going to love music. Yes, he will, but he won't be able to be a composer, a genius of music. And that, so when we do transfer that to other worlds, of course, we're going to retain the intelligence, but the physical bodies in different worlds are also different. So that's why the Spirit says, depends both on their superiority and the quality of the body they will assume. So you go on a mission to a less evolved world, and the physical body is more coarse than the physical body you have here on Earth. Of course, not all intelligence that you have is going to be able to manifest, because the body, the physical body, will be a limitation to it. Okay, that's what the spirits are meaning here in this answer. Was okay, Paco? Was able to understand?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? And the next question is the one that discussed the bodies.
181. Do the beings that inhabit other worlds have bodies like ours? Of course, they have bodies. A spirit must be clothed in matter to act upon matter. This envelope is more or less material according to the purity of each spirit. And these levels of purity determine the different worlds through which they will be able to pass. There are many dwelling places in our Father's house, and therefore many degrees among those dwellings. Some know this and are cognizant of the fact while on earth, others are not.
Okay. So that's what we briefly discussed here, right? So the physical body, any incarnation, again, we have worlds that are inhabited by discarnate spirits, okay? So they don't have a material body there or physical body. But all the worlds that are inhabited by incarnated spirits, you have to have a physical body. Because as they say here, a spirit must be clothed in matter to act upon matter. Yes, but this envelope is more or less material according to the degree of the spirit, the elevation of purity of each spirit, and to the level of the purity of the different worlds. Okay, so that's the physical body that we will have in different worlds. It will be according to the world. And even the perispirit, our spiritual body, it also changes according to the world we are living in, even if it's discarnate. And that's something also that was discussed in this latest book from Divaldo. Those spirits that are being transferred from from planet Earth to primitive planets, what happens to their perispirit? Their perispirit is subtle, and is going to change and to be adapted to the matter of this new world that they are moving in. Okay, it's kind of a complex concept and not very easy to wrap our head around it, but that's how it works. I don't know if anyone has any doubts or questions here. Elmo, anything to say here?
Yeah, just two things. One, the perispirit will collect the material of that specific celestial body to form its the outlay of the perispirit that will form the physical body in accordance to that world. Let's say in our planet, we have oxygen, so you develop lungs and you develop this respiratory system. What if I go to a celestial body that there's no oxygen? The body has to be different. When we evolve enough that you no longer required to have a digestive system, that you will be evolved enough that you'll be able to suck nutrients from the air. You're not going to have a digestive system. So our physical body will be completely different than what we have right now. No need to eat, no need to excrete. It will be a completely different body, but it's still a physical body. So the more you progress, the more ethereal will that perispirit will be, and will produce even more ethereal, less materialized physical body, but still physical.
And we can actually look at our evolution of the physical body of the human beings, right? And we have many, we can find it many pictures of our evolution from, you know, from the almost,
Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal.
yeah, how our physical body has changed, has evolved also, right? You know, we tend to look at our physical body compared to 200 years ago, but if we compare to 10, 50,000 years ago, we'll see how much it has evolved. And 10,000 years in eternity is not really that much. So, you know, again, you visit places that that were built 500 years ago. There are some around the world, and for me, for instance, that I'm 6'4", you know, I have to lower my head everywhere I go there, because the houses and everything is smaller. The population was smaller 300, 400 years ago, right? Yep. So our physical body continues to evolve, continues to change, and will become more and more, will progress also as we progress as spirits. Okay. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to stop here. Oh. Okay, so what we have this weekend. On Saturday, July 31st, the United States Spiritist Federation talk will be with Marcia Trajano, former Spiritist community of Atlanta and former member of the United States Spiritist Federation. She just moved to Tennessee. That's why she's no longer in Atlanta. And she has been part of our Saturday talks as a mediator and a presenter. And she's going to talk about understanding the power of compassion. Okay. And on Sunday, we are going to study the book Liberation. And we are going to study chapter 3, if I'm not 3. Yes, 3. We're going to study chapter 3. Okay. So that's it. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure. Infinite Creator, Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful this evening to be together for our study of the Spirit's book. We are grateful for what we have learned this evening, sharing together the knowledge, the wisdom, and the details of the spirit world. We come from different worlds, and we may have come from a world in which was not Earth to begin with. We know that Earth is a very dense planet. It is one of the densest and one of the more materialistic planets, therefore not easy to always navigate in this world if we are moving along a higher vibrational spiritual path. However, that is a challenge for us, and we can do it. We are set to do it, and may we continue to know through the support of the spirit world and the spiritual benefactors guiding us that we will do it. We are grateful to know that we are always evolving intellectually and morally, the wings of Spiritism. And the point being is not to be passive, but to be active as we move forward with our role in this life. We are learning and putting into practice our lessons. Therefore, that is why we are on this physical planet with a physical body. We can learn, we can grow, for we know that we share with our brothers and sisters the endeavorings that we can go forward. We know that according to whatever planet we may be incarnating on, we will be adapted to it through the peri-spirit, which takes the elements of that planet and uses it for which will help us to grow on that particular planet. We are grateful to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, the helpers, the healers, the guides who are with us, inspiring us and helping us to move forward in unity. We ask humbly for this protection and guidance to go with us each and every day as we go forward. And may we continue with our prayers, with our studies, and our mindfulness throughout the week. We also humbly ask for the love, light, and peace of Christ to be with us in our minds, in our bodies, and especially in our hearts. May we share this with others through our discernment and as they are able to receive what we can impart. We are grateful now to be together, and we ask for the blessings not only for ourselves, but for our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers, and those who are in need, who need healing, and who may be suffering during this time. There is always a way for that light to reach them. We humbly ask now to close this portion of the meeting and to ask for safety and protection as we go forth. May we remind ourselves to be beacons of light. Go forth now in peace. So be it.